Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is me, Mike, aka BB Gossip, and it is Tuesday? Yes. August 26th? Yes. Sorry, I'm having one of those mornings already. And this will be day 50 today in the Big Brother house. So we are well over halfway point. And yeah, it's things have been much calmer the last 24 hours compared to the last time I talked to you, which is good in some ways. And I actually I talked to you last night, I guess. I forgot. I did a car cast last night on the way home. So this one, I'm going to actually spend a lot of time talking about Winegate, because last night after I recorded my podcast, I basically re-witnessed the entire event, recorded key moments, posted key moments. That was my evening, was diving into Winegate for about 3 hours or so to see all the bits and pieces, and actually, I think, catch a couple moments that, at least on my timeline on Blue Sky, were not noted, so I found it interesting. But as far as in the house, as I mentioned last night, Mickey used the power veto to save herself, and Vincent put up Catherine in her place, and there was fallout from that. But in the end, the biggest fallout, actually, I don't think I mentioned this, Vincent and Keanu had a big crying session in the gym. It was typical Keanu, and Vincent is just, sitting there with his hands with his knees to his chest, his hoodie pulled down over his head. I don't know. He's really feeling the pressure of trying to please everybody, and then being frustrated that he's trying to please everybody. So it is what it is, and now his bed has been made. Likely Kelley will go get vote. Likely, now this could change, right? These things always shift towards the end, especially if Kelley wins the blockbuster. She's staying, but if she doesn't, she's probably going to go home, even though some people have kind of reached out to her. There will be fences attempted to be mended right at the end, just in case she stays around. But I don't think people are willing to risk playing with her, because she's just too much of a wild card. So I think if she's still on the block, Thursday night she goes. Next up would be Catherine, and Ava seems the most safe. I've talked about this before. Okay, so overnight, nothing critical, no big shifts, nothing. I mean, just it is what it is. We'll know more today. I do want to go back and talk about Winegate, so I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything, and I don't really think I am. Ashley's been kind of sick. She's on have-not, remember. Ashley's a have-not. She's been kind of sick. Someone pointed out, I think it was Dingo, that maybe she's been drinking. I've noticed it, and I hadn't commented on it, and I don't know if they did it last season too. They probably did, but they get these little shots of probably, immune boosters or whatever they are. It's a fad as far as I'm concerned, like multivitamins in a little drink. And I have a feeling they taste a little bit good or something, or maybe they're kind of nice, or maybe they're only supposed to have one or two. But Dingo at least implied that maybe Ashley's been drinking a lot of those, like more than she should, compared to whatever else she's been taking into her system, which is supposed to be mainly slop. And so maybe that's why she's not feeling well. But either way, she'll be okay. Okay, so other than that, it was fairly uneventful time since yesterday. Nothing major other than the power veto obviously happening. So one other note, I'm looking over at myself while I'm doing this, because I am doing this as a video today, which I will post up to my patrons. So there's a bonus if you want to see me talk to myself while I drive. Become a patron, okay? Go to patreon.com/BBGOSSIP if you want to do that. Maybe kind of appreciate, hey, Thanks for doing all your hard work. If you want to show me a little bit of love, other than listening to the commercials at the end of this, that's one option. There's also the Ko-fi link that I set up a while ago. There's a I don't know if I have a link in my Patreon, or not my Patreon, in my profile, my Blue Sky profile. I'm not sure if I have a link to my the Ko-fi thing, but all right, I digress. Back to what I was talking about. So I'm recording the video. It may be a little bit longer than normal before my audio goes up. We'll see. Of course, you won't know that until you hear it. So it is what it is. Winegate. All right. So I got home last night. I had spent a brief time late in the afternoon after work before I had dinner, collecting URLs from other Blue Sky folks that had posted clips and times and everything to try to figure out when exactly certain things happened. And I don't have the list of events at this point, but I'm just going to run them down through my head. Again, there is a huge thread on Blue Sky. It is 20 posts because I did it. And all but about 3 or 4 of those are video links or videos that are posted by me. A few are video posts from others, and then there's a few just text. But there's a lot of videos there, and they are just showing you major events through this Winegate debacle, if it was to be called that, whatever you want to call it. It started out, and this was the first clip that I got, and I hadn't seen it anywhere else because there was talk about Ava had said, let's do positive affirmations at dinner. And it was kind of a birthday party for Lauren, and they're doing these positive affirmations. Should everybody say something nice about the person to your left? And let's go around. So that's where it started. And guess what? It was there, and the whole Winegate incidents were actually kind of there recorded. And so I got them in a few different clips. What they did was they were saying nice things. As it happened, it was about the 4th or 5th one in. Lauren was saying nice things about Catherine. Remember, Catherine is nominated. So Lauren says nice things about Catherine, and Catherine, oh, thank you, and they hug. This is all of the clip. And then Catherine starts saying, now she's sitting next to Vincent. And this just worked out that way, right? Now remember, Catherine at this point has not been put on the block, but she knows she's a candidate. So Catherine is supposed to say something nice about Vincent. And she is. But, and I'm sorry, this is where I'm not looking to have Rachel evicted, but I think for the other players, if they want to have a chance to win, they should evict Rachel. So I am taking a devil's advocate argument against some of the things Rachel does, because the majority of the fan base out there is like, I love Rachel, she can do no wrong, everything she does is right, even if it's just the same as what somebody else does. So I do have a bit of that lean. I admit it. I know it. But again, if Rachel makes the final 2, she deserves to win. That's that. So to be clear. So Catherine starts doing her thing, and halfway into it or so, and it wasn't that long, Rachel stands up, and she's like 2 seats away yet to go, and she says, I need some more wine, or can I get some more wine? Was it a bit obnoxious or a bit over? I don't know. I wasn't in the room. Others later on, including Ava, said it was a bit, what did she say? Shady. That's what Ava said to Will, one-on-one. It was a bit shady. So, you know, that Ava's about as neutral a observer as I could get to this thing. Other people were either pro-Rachel or anti-Rachel, and so you're going to get a very extreme. But I felt like Ava would be the most neutral, especially talking to Will. I thought Will and Ava, if you're going to find people that were neutral, Will and Ava would be the most neutral in that setting. And for Ava to say to Will, it was kind of shady. And then they both laughed really hard. I think, yeah, I know. But Rachel stands up, walks around, and gets more wine from Ava, who pours it while Catherine continues with her little, Vince, you're very positive. I don't know what she said, but And then she sat back down, and Catherine had finished, and she applauded. She was nice, but you could tell in her face, she at least in my opinion, and I'm trying to be careful about this, that it didn't look like she really even wanted to be there. But she's like, I gotta get this. I know how to play the game. I gotta do these things. And she went through and she did her positive affirmation. And then they did a couple more, and then everybody got up to leave, and like, happy birthday, Lauren. And some of them, they head outside to the pool. At this point now, Rachel has, I think she's finished her wine that she refilled. And this is where we don't hear some of the audio and we only see things. And what we don't see is Rachel is outside in the hot tub. We're sitting by the hot tub. And we have audio in the backyard where Will is actually talking to the camera, but in the background you hear alcohol being mentioned, and it's Mickey and Rachel. I don't remember who else. And White Claw is brought up, and Mickey actually retold the story later, but I just can't remember all the details. But Rachel's like, I'm gonna go get another White Claw. I think that's what she says. And again, we're on hearsay. Maybe they'll show us on Wednesday night show. Rachel gets up, walks in at the same time as Kelley is walking out of the kitchen. She's walking in, and she goes up and she kind of dances up a little bit, shorts up, and grabs the last White Claw off the dining room table, and kind of takes it a little bit like, it wasn't like she was trying to be sneaky. It was almost like, oh, look at me trying to be sneaky. And this is all I can see from a video from a long shot. Others commented on it later that it looked like she was trying to steal it, but she wasn't. Like, it's like, oh, look at me, and she took it. But then she went out the door. When she went out the door, she closed the sliding door, and Keanu remarked that it was kind of hard. Like, what is she angry about? Now, these guys all feed on each other, right? So the retails, make everything bigger. And Keanu is in an anti-Rachel stance. And Ashley said, oh, I just thought she was lit. Like, perhaps meaning she had feeling her wine, maybe. But Keanu thought she was angry. So right there, you've got two different versions of the same incident. So that was, quote, the wine incident, and part of the White Claw incident, that Rachel went and grabbed the last White Claw. And I don't know the details of, perhaps Kelley said, I think there's a he said, she said moments here. There's several different retells, and I think it got blown out of proportion. But it was implied that Kelley might have asked for the wine and Rachel might have said no, or, later on, Rachel was telling, mad about things and saying, I don't even like White Claw. I took it so that Kelley couldn't have it. You'll never know the full story, and it doesn't really matter. It's what kicked things off. I saw Catherine talking about Rachel and the wine, and apparently, and this is off camera, I didn't see it. I tried to find it right after, like, Rachel went out to the backyard. And so it was like, Morgan said there was 5 of us, or actually there's 5 of us at the table, or there's maybe 4 others. That's when Kelley said, did you see that about the wine? Like, Rachel got up and was really rude and poured wine in the middle of Catherine praising Vincent. That is the, quote, Winegate moment, when Kelley was saying this, or that was the other part of it, when Kelley was reacting to it, and everybody fed off of that reaction. Although that got a bit confusing, because Catherine, moments later, was in the bathroom talking to Vince, and Vince told Morgan, it became a game of telephone. And some of them were not attributing the original comment to Kelley. They were just commenting on it too, like, did you see that? So that's where it got a bit confusing. For a brief moment, and I posted and deleted my post, I thought Ashley was the one who had actually done it, and it had been attributed to Kelley. But that isn't the case. It sounds like it really was Kelley that was the main instigator of all of this talk about wine. Okay, so that's the video that I found, the video clips that I found early on that I hadn't seen anywhere else, and people hadn't seen it. Matter of fact, the reaction, of course, as could be expected online, was, this is what everyone was so mad about. And those people had only seen the very first clip and hadn't watched the reaction, I think, because I do understand other people, including like Ava later on, said it was a bit, shady. So some people noticed it and thought it was a bit dramatic, perhaps, of Rachel's part. And I can see that, and I get that. That's what she was trying to do. She thought that she knew that Catherine was trying to lobby Vince to try to get on his good side so he didn't nominate her. That's the game. All right. So that was the major one. Fast forwarding through the other stuff because now, of course, I'm getting close to my destination as usual, and so I need to wrap it up. But that was the major video. The first thing I found was the other retells, the other people sharing it and saying their version of things, and just the way it snowballed into the next big conflict. Well, first of all, Ashley is the one, and Morgan, that told Rachel about Kelley's comments, which set Kelley off. She snagged Vince, and she said to Vince, this is happening. Of course, I took the White Claw too because I'm a, whatever she said, bitter, that kind of stuff, or not bitter. I can't think of the word. Anyways, but it led to the hammock incident, and that's the other big incident of this. And what has happened is Rachel had been out on the hammock, I think with Will and Mickey, or at least with Mickey, and then Morgan was on the hammock physically. Mickey and Will were sitting on the side of the hammock, and she was sitting with Morgan in the hammock, and for some reason Rachel got up to go into the house or to go do something, and while she was off frame, off camera, Kelley was walking out into the backyard. Now, understand, Rachel is fuming about Kelley at this point. She's been built up. She is not happy. Again, these are my takes. And she's had at least a couple of glasses of wine and some White Claw, even though she doesn't like it. I never saw her pour out the White Claw. I saw her carrying it around. So I think she drank a good portion of it. Kelley's walking out towards the hammock. The video that I posted, you see her walking to frame. Remember, say hi, Kelley, and she's heading like she's going to climb into the hammock with Morgan. And Rachel's immediately like, no, Kelley, there's no room. I was there, that's mine. Da, da, da. So she kind of shuts down Kelley. Pretty. It wasn't nice. It was a bit annoyed kind of a thing. And so she shuts her down. Kelley stays standing for a little bit while Rachel climbs into the hammock. And you can just tell by her body language that Kelley is just super annoyed. Or not Kelley, Rachel is super annoyed. And Kelley eventually sits down, and this lasts for all of 10 minutes. Fast forward to 10 minutes, and Kelley, I didn't even listen that closely. Kelley's like, I'm going to go to bed, or I'm leaving. And so Kelley gets up, and she gives Mickey a hug, is the first person, who was sitting next to her. And then she kind of leans in like she goes, night, Rachel, like she's going to give Rachel a hug. And everyone's like, no, I don't need a hug from you. And again, the wording is kind of somewhat important, but Rachel's just like, no, I don't need a hug. And Kelley's like, why? Now, come on. At this point, Kelley knows something's going on. She's read the room. She has a sense that Rachel is pissed off at her, but she's not going to say that. She's just like, why? Why don't you want a hug? And Rachel's like, I just don't want a hug. I don't need to have, it's my right not to, need a hug, which is an argument that I saw online from people, later on, like, well, Rachel's totally entitled not to need a hug. Why do all these people have to hug so much? And it's like, hold on. Fine, you're right. However, in this case, Rachel was doing it because she was pissed off at Kelley. That's the reason. And it was fine. Kelley just said, what have I done? Is it because I'm not cleaning? Because Kelley had stopped cleaning for out of protest, and because nobody else is doing the cleaning kind of stuff. Not Rachel, but maybe Rachel's annoyed because Kelley isn't helping with the cleaning. And Rachel's like, no, like sarcastically, she said, oh sure, yes, that's why. It's because you're not cleaning. Like that wouldn't be a big thing to me. So Rachel was very snarky, and she eventually. Sorry, dealing with traffic. She eventually, Kelley, like, okay, well, whatever. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm just going to go. I don't think I've done anything wrong. And she goes and goes and hugs everybody else. Everybody else gives her a hug. She goes and she hugs everybody else, and then she leaves, and that's when she goes off to the head of household room and she cries, and all that stuff happens, which has all been recounted. Again, I have all the videos and everything. But that was the two major events are what actually happened with the wine and did, what actually happened at the moment of the hug or the non-hug. And those were the two big events. But I've got all that stuff posted, and you can check it out on my Blue Sky timeline. So that's that. There you go. That's my recap. And I am now at my place of work. And so I am going to sign off. Wish you guys a happy Tuesday. I anticipate not a hugely dramatic day, but hey, you never know with this house. And I will update you guys tomorrow. Thanks again to everyone for listening. And I am going to sign off right now and leave a little extra message for my patrons. So thank you for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you on Wednesday, most likely. All right. Be well, everybody. Bye-bye.